Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Player First podcast with your co-host, Coach Leo, with the Football Domain Academy in London, and myself, Coach Fernando, in New York, USA, with Tempo Soccer Academy. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be discussing developing a winner's mindset, right? And taking any player that's out there to another level in terms of how to be a winner, how to think like a winner on a consistent, constant basis. So, Coach Leo, before we dive deep into it, what are your thoughts on developing that winner's mindset, or what does that sort of mean to you?
Well, Fernando, nice to have you on the podcast again. Hope everything is going well on the other side of the pond.
Yes, sir.
This was the topic we created as a result of a Netflix series that we both watched not long ago, which is Michael Jordan's The Last Dance, right? And I think you'd agree, Coach Fernando, that was an awesome show.
Fantastic. It was great to get more insight into the man that is Michael Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. So, winner's mindset. I mean, if you look and if you analyze the best players on this planet, they're all different, right? They're all different, and that differentness of them, I don't know if that's even a word, differentness.
I think we'd call it uniqueness, Coach.
Uniqueness, right. Well, this is a unique show, so I'm going to go with differentness.
Okay, fair enough. Whatever works for you. I think it's fine.
Yeah. So the differentness of these players is that the mentality, the mindset, that never satisfied hunger and that drive to want to win, to want to be different, to want to just always be better than their last training session, than their last game. And two obvious players we have in the world of soccer, football at the moment, you know, it's Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. And what makes those two different from the rest of the pack is that those players are never satisfied, right?
Right.
If you look at those two, there's no need for them to carry on playing. Like, those two have won everything, achieved everything. They've broken almost. They've probably broken every single record in the game.
Right.
But what's that drive to continue? Because most average people, once they get to that sort of level, they'll probably say, right, I've reached that level, I've achieved 1 or 2 titles, 2 trophies, and now I'm just going to give up.
Right.
So what makes those two unique, I'm going to use your word, unique, is the mindset, right? The winner's mindset, to keep winning, to keep improving, to keep developing. And right. I'm a big believer that comes down to you, right? I think you can be coached, you can be influenced in the right way, but to keep renewing yourself, it comes from you. It has to come from you, right? To keep wanting to win, to keep wanting to perform better. And no matter what level of the game you are at, right? You don't just need to have that mentality, that mindset at the pro level, but as a club player, you know, as a youth soccer club player, you can also start to build that winning mindset. But really and truly, it does come down to you, like what you believe in, what is your full potential, you know, and a few things we're going to be talking about today are designed to help you to develop that full potential you have, and to make yourself different to everyone else.
Yeah, well said. I think that is perfectly summed up in what we're going to be talking about today. And, you know, we're going to dive into maybe some more specifics, but that sums it up perfectly, right? And I think, you said that word uniqueness or differentness, right?
Differentness.
Right. Yeah. Winners are just different, right? They're of a different mindset. They think differently than most people. And you have to sort of have these beliefs in your brain that you can be different, that you think differently, right? And you do things differently than most people do. And that's okay to be different. That's okay to be unique. And everyone is different, right? And so, moving along with the show, what the first thing that we had discussed pre-show was focusing on the positives, focusing on the good stuff, right? And even when things aren't going correctly or things go wrong or go south, go the wrong way, always being positive about the situation, right?
Yeah.
Winners are never, ever, ever looking at the negatives or put things in a negative fashion or never add on to the negative, right? There's a negative situation going on. They look to make the best of the situation. They think about, how can I use this to improve myself?
Yeah.
Right. And so focusing on the positives is huge for a winner's mindset. And I have this, and I learned this from, I forget where I learned this from, but I have this response to my players whenever anything happens, and I want players to use this as well. So if you're watching this, this is a nice little strategy for you to use, is use the word good, Good. Use the word good and use it all the time after any situation. For example, whether negative or positive, whatever just happened, the response should always be good, right? So if you just lost a game 5-0, my response would be good, right? And players might be thinking, what do you mean good? That's not good. We lost, right? But you can't do anything about that loss. It's done. So let's look at the positive. How can we now improve from that loss? What did we learn, right? We lost 5-0. Good. What did we learn from that 5-0 loss? How do we get better?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And I can sit here and we can talk about this, trying to be positive or think about the positives, but it's really hard, man. I think we as a society, it's like we're sort of programmed to always think the negatives, right? The negatives of everything. It's just easier. It's easier.
And it's everywhere. It's like you said, it's so much easier, and it's because it's easier, it's everywhere, right? In the news all the time, people are always thinking about the negative stuff. It's all around us. So it is really hard.
Exactly. And I think as humans, as people, I think connecting negativity makes more of a connection. Like if you're a very positive person, or you say something positive to someone, most of the time, people will like it, but that doesn't really create that connection. I don't know if this makes any sense.
It does.
Whereas if it's negativity, people tend to come together.
Right.
It's insane, but it's the way it is. Now, a positive person, or staying positive, is being unique, right? Being different. Like, as you know, I'm going through a family issue at the moment, quite tough, and it's tough to look at the positives, right? And there has been a lot of positives on the whole journey, but it's normal to just be negative, right? To look at the negative, to say, oh, this is a never ending process,
right?
It's always like, instead of focusing on the little steps that we've got, it's got better. We just want to be dramatic. We want to just focus on the negatives, because that always tends to overshadow the positives. And this is the same for anyone and any player, right? You can have a fantastic game, but the one moment you mess up, or the one moment you miss, I don't know, say you miss a PK, a penalty, that one moment you messed up is what stays in your head,
Right.
not everything else you've done.
That is a great point. I love that point, Leo. And I think that relates well to any of the players that are watching this. You know, if you've missed an open goal or you missed a penalty, like you said, after the game, that tends to be what you think about.
Yeah.
Even if the rest of the 90 minutes or 80 minutes or however long your game is, that rest of that time you played fantastic. In your brain, it's so much easier to think about that negative moment and be negative about it, right? But you got to find a way to turn that negativity into a positive. Okay, so that negative thing, you missed a PK, well, great, you missed one, good job, who cares, let's learn from it, let's get better, right? And so
Absolutely.
You're absolutely spot on when you say it's difficult to stay positive, because it's so much easier just to be negative, and it's so much easier to talk about the negativity with other people, right? People like to complain, right? People like to complain. Okay, so, and complaining is contagious. We all like to do it, right? So if all your teammates are complaining, or all the people around you are complaining about something, it's so much easier for you to just be like, yeah, let me complain too. And you get on the negatives, right? But you have to be, like we talked about in the beginning, you have to be different. You have to think different. You got to look at the positive. While everyone's looking at the negative, let them stay down looking at the negative. You, if you want to be a winner looks at the positive, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it can't be underestimated about how you look at things and being positive with everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's a great point you made about negativity is contagious, because it is, because our focus always tends to go on the negatives, but not on the positives. So if you can train yourself to look at, right, what did I do well instead of what did I do bad, then those good things will keep building, and then you'll start to get results, and then you'll start to think to yourself, do you know what, like, I'm getting better.
Right.
But if you're doing good things but they're being overshadowed by the things you didn't do, then it's like there's no progress. You're never going to see progress. But at the end of the day, I think everything you do, there's always going to be some sort of progress. Even bad progress is progress, right?
Right. And that I love that you said that, because any progress, or even like you said, bad progress, which I don't think exists because it's still good progress, like you said, everything is good. Everything is a part of the process. Everything is a learning moment. So you got to stay positive with that. And that's why I like to tell my players, use the word good after anything, especially after the negative stuff. Oh man, we lost today. First thing you should be thinking is good. And I know that's kind of crazy to hear, like this coach is telling me to say that losing is good. That's not what I'm saying, right? Obviously you want to win the game. We all want to win the game. But if you lost, there's nothing you can do about that. So look at the positive immediately. Say, we lost. Okay, great, good. How do I take this loss and get better? That's that's taking the positive out of a negative.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also showing maturity as well.
That comes with time. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think it's easy. I think the more you focus on the positives, the more mature you're getting as a person, because you're actually analyzing situations instead of just saying, oh, right, this didn't go my way. Like maybe you could say a kid does, right?
Yeah.
Kid cries and kid complains. But as you grow as an adult, you have to look at, right, what went well, and just keep building on those things that went well. And that's how you mature as a person, right? Okay. And also learning on your mistakes.
Yep, that's it. Good, Coach Leo. Good. That's all I'm going to say for the rest of the podcast. Good. Good. Good.
That's it. I like that one.
And
I
some of
like
my
that.
players, they get so frustrated with me
Yeah.
because they'll say something negative, and I'll just be like, "Good." I'll be like, "What do you
Yeah.
mean, good?" I'm like, "Good."
Yeah. That's it.
But it's to help them understand that there's always positive in the negative.
Yeah. That's why football, soccer, sometimes it's, the result sometimes overshadows the performance. You know,
100%.
when a team could win a game, but they were probably dominated throughout the 90 minutes.
Right. And that
But
happens.
what do we look at? We look at the end result.
Right. And that's the thing that we get used to in our society in general, and us as in general, is we always think, oh, what was the score?
Yeah.
Right? That's always the first question most parents ask when they show up to a game, right? Even us coaches, when we show up to games late or something, or we're just watching, right? We always want to know first thing, what was the score? Right? Because that's the main focus always. And I get it. It's competition. We want to win. But like you said, that sometimes can overshadow a really great performance.
Yeah.
Right. So great point there.
Mhm.
All right, cool. And then, so we know that a winner now has to be positive, focus on the positive. And something else that we talked about pre-show was a winner is someone who takes responsibility. They take self-responsibility for everything that goes on in their life, right? Everything that goes on, they take responsibility for. They don't blame anyone else. They don't point fingers. They don't choose to blame the weather or whatever, or the stock market or whatever. I don't know. They don't blame anything on other people. They don't look to put the responsibility on others.
Yeah.
But winners look to take responsibility for themselves. So how would that apply, I guess, Coach Leo, to a youth player taking responsibility for themselves?
Exactly how you said. So a winner takes responsibility whether something goes their way or it didn't go their way, right? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't go your way, you were involved in that. There was something that you may not have done, and that's what led for that specific thing not going the way you wanted. All right. So if you are a young player and you haven't had a good game, there's a reason why you didn't have a good game. Maybe it was your preparation, maybe it was your mindset, maybe it was, I don't know, you didn't pass the ball well enough. It could have been a number of things, number of reasons, right? But a winner always takes responsibility, right? They're always accountable for their performances, whether it goes well or whether it doesn't go well. Like something that I took from the Last Dance series was, I think there was one game where the Bulls lose to the Detroit Pistons. Okay, so it was a really, really good Detroit Pistons team. And Michael Jordan, who is the focus of the show, instead of walking off and sulking, he actually went and shook the opponent's hand, right? And that shows he's taken responsibility by saying, right, we weren't good enough. We just weren't good enough today. And when you take responsibility for your actions, then you can only get better, because you have something to analyze from, you have something to work on. But if you're always constantly blaming the referee, which is a common one in youth football.
That is a common one.
Oh, we lost because the ref didn't call this way, blah, blah, blah. And it's, what are you exactly learning when you're blaming someone else?
Nothing at that point, right?
You're not getting anything out of it. So take responsibility, whether you win, whether you played well, whether you lost, you played badly, accept all results.
100%.
And it's, as coaches, so difficult, right? Because coaches, we tend to have a really big ego, huge ego. So we can't take defeat.
Right.
Because when our teams lose, it's like we've turned into a bad coach.
Right.
Right. And that, that happens to me all the time. But
because
at the end of the day,
you lose a lot, right, Coach Leo?
Man, I was born to lose. And
team.
I've got no shame in it.
Right.
But
because it's good.
Exactly, yeah, because you're gonna, at some point you will win.
Yeah.
Because even if you always lose but you don't give up, you're gonna win at some point.
100%. And yeah, you make a great point there about, oftentimes in youth soccer, youth football, we do look to blame as adults, coaches, even players, parents. Oftentimes you'll hear the blame being put on the referee. Well, they didn't call this, they didn't call that, they were biased, they were right. But one thing that I always tell my players is you don't control that.
Yeah.
You do not control the referee and what they decide. Yeah. So blaming it on them does nothing for you. It does nothing for the team, right?
Absolutely.
And so being able to take responsibility is about not blaming the referee. Oops, correct. Just dropped something. Not blaming the referee, right? Taking responsibility for yourself. If your team isn't performing well, if you're not performing well, that's on you, right? Figure out why. Why didn't you perform well, right? What didn't go well? What do you need to improve on? What do you need to work on? And own it, right? Own your mistakes. Own when you mess up. Take accountability for it. Because if you do, then like you said, eventually if you keep saying, all right, I need to work on this, I need to work on this, you're going to work on it, you're going to get better. And those losses will turn to wins. But if you blame the referee every time, you're going to think, well, there's nothing I need to do because it wasn't my fault. It was the referee's fault. So the next time, the next game, you're not going to have improved anything. You're going to come back the same. And if you do the same again, that it's the referee's fault, well, guess what? That cycle repeats and you're not going to improve.
Exactly. And, you can only control what you can control. You can't control the referee or your teammates or the opposition, but you can control yourself. And this goes in any aspect of sports, right? What you eat, when you train, how you train, if you train, who you surround yourself with, your mindset. Are you going to be a positive person? Are you going to be a negative? All of that is about control. And you can control that. You can't control, however, your teammates arriving late to every session, your teammates not passing the ball to you, the referee making a wrong call. Those specific things you can't control, but you can control what you can control, which is you. So take responsibility for it.
I love that. That's 100% right. Only you can control the things that you can control, and that's it. Don't worry about anything else.
That's it, exactly.
And something else that we talked about pre-show was being, and you kind of said it at the beginning, is that players like Ronaldo, like Messi, or these really great players that have that winner's mindset, they are never satisfied, right? They're never satisfied with their improvement. They're never satisfied with winning, one championship or one trophy. They're never satisfied with anything, right? Because they're always looking to improve. They're always looking to get better, right? So having that winner's mindset is about also staying hungry, right? Staying hungry for development, staying hungry to get better, and not being okay with where you're at. Always thinking about, I got to get better, right? I need to get better.
Yeah, Absolutely. Love that, Coach Fernando.
There we go. So never be satisfied. And we talked about being different as well, right? Being different. Winners' mindsets is different than a non-winner's mindset, right? You have to think differently. And one of the scenes that we talked about before from the Last Dance documentary. And by the way, if anyone watching hasn't seen that documentary, The Last Dance, I highly suggest you go watch it. All right, even for
unbelievable
any players out there, players, parents, go watch it. It is fantastic. It gives you a view into a winner's mindset and how they think. Yeah. Right.
And let me just add one more thing to that, because like we sometimes confuse what a winner is, right? Mm-hmm. We always associate a winner being someone that wins all the time, right? Wins trophies, is the best player on the field, etc. But really, a winner's mindset is always doing things to your full potential. That's my version of what a winner is, right? Always doing things to your potential, and always wanting to be the best version of yourself. You know, never being satisfied, right? Always pushing, always having goals, always being unique. Yep. You know, that is a winner. A winner doesn't necessarily mean the player with the most trophies. Okay, because those things will come, but first you have to start with the fundamentals, right? I'm sure you would agree with this, Coach Fernando.
1,000%. I think that is 1,000% true. I couldn't have said it better myself. That was perfect. That was perfect, Coach. I agree 100%. The winner's mindset is not just about having all the trophies and all that good stuff, but it's about how you think, right? That's why it's called the mindset. And how you think should be positive, right? It should be not focused on the negative like everyone else. You should be thinking differently. You should be focused on getting better, never being satisfied, being the best version of you at all times, right? Absolutely. And that's 100% right. And there was, speaking of thinking differently, there was one scene from the show that we were talking about this, that Michael Jordan had an injury early in his career. It was either his first or second year in the league, and he had an injury that he wanted to come back from. He wanted to play, but there was a potential that he can seriously damage his career if he got re-injured. And so he basically asked the doctors, well, how likely is it that I will get hurt again? And the doctors are like, if you play, there's a 10% chance you get hurt. And what Michael Jordan said was like, all right, so I'm going to play. Like, so you're telling me there's 10% chance that I'm going to get hurt, but there's 90% chance that I'm going to be fine? I'm going to play. And the doctor asked him, he was like, well, Michael, think about it like this. If there was 10 pills, right, and one of these pills could kill you, he's like, would you grab any of the pills and take it? and Coach Leo, what did he say? Because I know this is your favorite part.
He said, yeah, so he related it to a headache, right? If you had a severe headache,
that's what it was.
There was 10 pills
that can cure you.
One of those pills, if you took it, killed you. Would you gamble on it? And then so Michael Jordan's response was, depends how bad the headache is. So that mindset is, the message is pretty much saying to you, right, I'm willing to gamble because I know that 9 of those pills are going to make me better and 1 will kill me. So I'm going to gamble on it.
Right. But most people would probably think about it in terms of like, oh no, absolutely not. They would think about that 10%.
Yeah.
And that would prevent them from doing it.
Correct.
Whereas he was thinking about the 90%, right? He was looking at the positives, right? He wasn't thinking about what's the worst that can happen. He was thinking about all this good stuff that's going to happen if he's going to be fine.
Exactly.
And he ended up playing and he was fine, right? But that is one example of being positive and thinking of the positive, looking at the positives, right? He didn't let that 10% mess with the 90% of the positive.
Correct.
So
correct. Yeah,
that was a pretty cool scene.
That was a phenomenal scene, and it got me thinking about how sometimes we think so small.
Yeah.
You know, we focus, and it goes back to focusing on the negative, right? He knew that 1 out of those 10 pills were a positive, no, negative, sorry. But he was like, no, he was like, there's more likelihood I'm going to win rather than lose, right? So he said his response was, I'm willing to gamble because I know the rewards, if it goes well, will be greater.
Right.
Now we aren't encouraging you to go and try and to do that, but it's basically the message is sometimes in certain situations, are you willing to risk it?
Right. But while looking at the positives too, right? It wasn't like, I don't know, it was the other way around, right? It wasn't 9 will kill you and 1 he'll be fine. He knew that he had a good chance of being okay. And so he didn't think about the negatives at that point. He just thought about the positives, right? Because he knew the chances were fine. And so, you know, it wasn't like he just like didn't think about it. He thought about it and he was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to play. Like, I'm going to be fine. There's 90% chance. Great. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about the 10%. I'm not going to get hurt. Right.
Yeah. And that's a positive mentality.
Right. That's just him thinking positive all the time. Coach Leo, would there be anything else, I guess, that you would say about developing a winner's mindset, or for players out there watching that want to have that winner's mindset constantly? You know, I know we talked about being positive, right? Always using the word good for even bad situations, right? Anything that happens, it's always good. You just need to find the good in the bad, right?
Yeah.
Being self-responsible, always taking responsibility for yourself, being accountable, right? Looking about what you can control and focusing on that, and not focusing on the weather or the referee or the other coach or anything that you can't control. Don't worry about it. Just focus on you and take responsibility for you. Yeah. And then we talked about not being satisfied, right? Always looking to be the best version of you, the best player that you can be, always trying to get better, never being satisfied. Even if you're a really great player now, don't be satisfied with that. Look to get better.
Yeah. Just one last point I want to put into this is just, so if you analyze the best players in the world, like some we mentioned, like Ronaldo, Messi, apart from being really good players, there's another thing they all have in common, is they're usually the captains of their team, right? So, and being a captain means really that they are the leaders,
right?
Okay. Now, you can argue maybe some of them aren't great leading a team, but they're probably given that captaincy more because they're a role model to the group. Okay, they are a role model to the group, which means they're probably the most hardworking individuals, and they're always there early before everyone else. They're probably always the last ones to leave. They always work, they work really hard. So that's a common thing with a winner. Okay, right. It's not necessarily are you the loudest, are you the most aggressive, but it's, are you a role model? Can you be that role model that the coach points to you when he's talking to the group about what you should be doing? Right. If we were to pick Messi and I was, Barcelona's coach, and I was talking to the group about discipline, I'd probably say to Messi, I'd probably point to Messi and say, look, this is what this guy does every day.
Right.
You know, he stays late, he arrives early. He looks after what he eats. He gets specialist help, etc. So he invests in himself, which is something you as a group should be doing if you want to get to his level.
Right.
Um,
And
you know,
same for Ronaldo. Don't worry, Ronaldo fans. We love Ronaldo too.
yeah, it's exactly the same. You know, I was just pointing to Messi because he's better.
Uh-oh. You're going to have some hate coming in our comments.
No, but listen, in all honesty, they're both amazing players, and it's a privilege to be able to watch them every week.
Yeah.
You know, because when those two are gone, you know,
They will be missed.
The sport is going to be left with a big dent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
because
gap.
those two, you know, not only are they fantastic athletes, but again, they're amazing role models. You know, you don't hear any of them really in the news for the wrong reasons. They both have unbelievable physiques. You know, they all do charity work. They're all breaking records. They do community work. You know, they're just great individuals.
Role model.
Yeah, they're role models to society. And also they've managed to be consistent over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like 1 year and then they disappeared. They've been at it for over 10 years.
Yeah. And I think that's the last point I wanted to make as well, is that a winner's mindset is something that lasts, right? It's something, it's who you are, right? It's who you become, right? You can have that winner's mindset, and then it's about sustaining it, keeping that mindset, right? It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't just come for a year and then that's it, you disappear. No, you got to be consistent, right? So be consistent with how you think, and every day is a chance for you to improve that mindset, to improve how you think, to stay more positive, right? To not be satisfied with where you're at. Every day is a little bit of a chance to grow that mindset little by little. And it takes consistency, it takes time. And you got to constantly work at it.
Exactly. You know, those two players weren't an overnight success. They've had to overcome many barriers to get to where they were.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and also an example is they've both had to immigrate from their own country to a new country to succeed. And, you know, that takes a certain amount of courage, and not everyone would do that. Not everyone would leave their comfort of their own town or their country, their culture, to go and succeed or to pursue their dream. But those two players done it at a very young age as well.
Yeah.
So that already, you can tell, right, these guys are serious and these guys are winners.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And there's a lot of good young American players too that have done that as well recently. You know, moving to Germany, especially a lot of them, to leave the comfort of their homes and all that good stuff, because they have that never being satisfied mentality. They want to get better. They want to achieve these things, right? That was great, Coach Leo. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat today.
Awesome, Coach Fernando. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. And if you guys out there watching, don't forget to subscribe to our channels, hit the like button for us, and leave a comment. Any comments or thoughts on this video or questions, you know, we're willing to help. Again, Coach Leo and myself are on a mission to help club players around the world to achieve their dreams, to achieve their goals, get to a higher level. And so whatever way we can help, that's what we're here for. So please send us a message, connect with us. Coach Leo, I think all our stuff will be on here as well, for social medias, and contact us on here. We'll have our contact information. reach out to us with questions. And like we said, we're happy to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Coach Leo. Do you have anything else to report before we get out of here?
That's it, Coach Fernando. The only thing to report is looking forward to the next one.
There we go. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.
Take care.